Alright, so I'm recording this out of sequence because my camera died and I'm using a camera I'm borrowing right now until I get camera situation figured out. My cameras don't last well in this environment. It's dusty, it's dirty, it's wet, it's sloppy, and I drop them. And it's just the nature of who I am and what I do, I guess. I'm not as easy on stuff as I maybe could be. So this is kind of out of order, but you may recognize this truck. This is a Beverage truck that I replaced the frame, put it back the way it was. If you don't know what I'm talking about, at the end of this video will be a video of what I did here. But you can check that out if you want. Anyways, I move the frame forward. Now, the problem right now is the truck has an exhaust leak, and it's where the turbo downpipe, the downpipe comes off the turbo. So I've ordered a new one, and I've actually got it changed already. And I had to do a couple things different. I'll show you. I got the piece here, and here's the downpipe. This is the downpipe that comes off of the turbo on that truck. And they always break right here. And this is the part that goes into the V-band clamp up against the turbo. And that's usually they break real close to there. I mean, usually it's a little bit, the ones I've replaced before are like maybe an inch away, but regardless. So I call Alan at AMI and he ordered me up one of these pipes. What I didn't know was that the upfitter that changed this from a standard chassis to the drop frame for the Beverage body, where they come in behind the cab and they drop this frame down real low, I didn't realize they modified the exhaust like they did. So let me get underneath, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so I have the new pipe in up here, as you can see. That's the new downpipe right there coming down. And I use a piece of flex exhaust in between the two because I like to isolate the vibration between the two. I don't think that's in there from the factory. I think it's a straight pipe. Two reasons. I use that because I like to isolate the two, because they do have a problem breaking there, and it can take the vibration of the engine and give it a place to go and make it not so hard on the pipe. Because if it's moving, that whole flange you saw where it's real thin up there is moving, and then it's twisting this. So I don't know, it may not help, it might, but I didn't want to just fix the effects. I wanted to hopefully make it to where we're fixing the cause. Now, originally when this was a Beverage truck, that frame was dropped right in this area right behind the cab, and they cut the exhaust and shoved that muffler way up forward, and it was solid mounted. And you know, that's no good. It needed to be on a rubber mount, some way to take up some vibration. So it wasn't there, and it was very expensive to get the hangers. There's $185 a piece for this hanger mounts from International. So I went out to one of my parts trucks and I took that pipe, the pipe in front of the muffler, and the downpipe out of the back. I took that off another truck, and then I went ahead and drilled holes and put the actual mounts in up top like it's supposed to be. So hopefully he won't have any more troubles with it. Now, I did have to heat this up, the downpipe heated up with a rosebud to get it to turn, because it was actually up a little bit because it had a stack on the end of it. But nonetheless, we got it in, we got it able to work. I just lost all this footage when my cameras died, so I didn't get to show you putting any of this together or drilling this, or you know, how I came up with this ordeal. But it's as close to factory as it could be, and hopefully it won't give them any troubles moving forward. I wish I had a couple new clamps to put on there. Those are all I have today, so if they become an issue, we'll just have to get some new ones. So now we need to address a huge oil problem, and the truck also has a hard time starting. When you first start driving this thing, it shakes the steering wheel uncontrollably. I mean, like dangerous. And it's been getting worse. And I drove it, and I told him, I said, well, you don't have a choice. that's getting fixed before it leaves, because I'm not letting this thing go. It's down to where there's like no tread left on it. This tire really should have been replaced a little while ago. And it's got a bolt down in it here. Now, it's a bad tire, there's a dip in it. We'll see if I can get it spinning fast enough where I can show you before I dismount it. You might be able to see it there. There's a dip in it, and that's making the steering wheel go like this going down the road. It's violent. So violent you need to ratchet strap your kidneys in. That's how violent that is. So we're going to get that wheel off real quick. Well, we fought getting this one off, and it's all because of in here, and balancing bead that's in there. It's real gritty. It makes it very difficult because that grit acts like, you know, gripping agent. It's very abrasive, so it makes it very difficult to get the tire off. And it's a Yokohama casing, so they're not easy. Anyways, but I got a couple of Firestones here. These are, probably 75% tread at least. Maybe closer to 80. And they're both 11R22.5s, so we're going to put them on. That way we end up with a couple good tires on the front. Alright, tires mounted. We got other sides on and done. Now we just need to mount this side. It's a little congested right here.
Yeah, let me get out of the way.
This is what happens when you have too many projects going on at one time. And you have parts.
Yeah, and
All
this stupid thing
yeah.
is always in our way.
Yeah.
When it gets warm, we're gonna have to clean up in here.
Well, the forklift needs to go too.
Yeah.
It needs to get out of here. Well, let's see if I can get this whole girl mounted like this with no room. I am right there. Now there'll be a bunch of guys, you need to build a bigger shop. Nope, I just need less crap.
It doesn't matter how big your shop is, you would fill it. It would have stuff in the way.
Well, part of the problem is, you know, I like the F750 Project Overkill, which seems to be gaining some popularity. Seems to be people really waiting for more on that, which is really good, because it makes you think what you're doing is working. You know, people are interested in it.
Mm-hmm. She has a blanket on right now because of painting. We didn't want overspray to get on it.
Huh?
I was saying that she has a blanket on right now. The F750.
Yeah. It's got a security blanket. It's feeling lonely, unloved. I got the dog box off. The interior, you can see that. Open that door up and take a look in there. I have to wait on the Crankcase Breather before I put it together. But I'm going to have it probably Tuesday. There's some people out there who don't like Milwaukee. And I've heard this on more than one occasion. They think they're overpriced and too much hype. I'm gonna tell you, man, these are 33mm nuts, and I took them off with my 1/2 inch Milwaukee. Now this one's the 1/2 inch, not the 3/4.
Yeah, I mean,
Just a
you've
half
always
inch.
had good luck with it, but you know what? If everyone liked the same thing, there'd only be one brand.
I guess, I mean, I use it. I mean, there's rarely a day that goes by I'm not using this, and I have 2 of them, 2 1/2 inch and 1 3/4, and I think they're well worth the money, but I also think that it's better to buy them in combo deals. You know, when you buy them in a combo deal, that's the best price, but I guess not everybody can absorb the extra, you know. Why don't you come over on this side here?
Okay.
Because I'm going to go ahead and hit these with this Ingersoll Rand. I don't even remember how many foot-pounds of torque this thing is. I can't remember. It's incredible. On a 1/2 inch hose, my air compressor goes to 175.
It sounds like a machine gun.
I mean, at this point, I'm tightening it, and I'm tightening it really more than I want to. Just because I wanna feel like the 1 inch gun is doing something, even though it's not, you know. Yeah. Again, 1/2 inch line, big Milton coupler on a 1 inch 33 millimeter. So I don't know. Some people don't like them. They don't like the Milwaukee, but man, the proof's in the pudding. And that battery that I was using on that gun is a 6 amp hour, and I took off that side and put it back on. Did the same thing you just saw me do here. Took this side off and put it back on, and I'm down to 1 battery. And it was what I do with this yesterday.
You're down to 1 battery.
I'm down to 1 bar.
That's what I thought you meant.
So at 1 bar on this, that 1 inch impact, really I just tightened it more because it was plenty tight. So it's got this massive oil leak, and this is what I've been looking for. The truck just had work done by a mechanic, and he had the valve cover off. And this breather's in the valve cover, and you have to disconnect it from here. And you take it off, and unfortunately, I think he broke the breather tube. It's just like a Bakelite plastic type deal, and that's a breather element where the crankcase pressure comes into here, the vapor comes out the draft tube, and then the oil falls to the bottom and returns to the oil pan. But it's leaking pretty good. The starter is completely soaked. I don't know how well it's going to show up, but it's going down the bottom of the intake, and it's hitting on the ECM, and down here on the ECM mount, you can see right here, and ending up on the starter down there. Alright, so this engine uses what's called a Huey system. It's a hydraulic, electronic, unitized injection, or something like that. I can never remember exactly what it is, but something around those. It's very similar to the Power Strokes and 3126 and 3116 early years of injector pressure control. So what it does is it takes engine oil and supplies it to the high pressure pump. A high pressure pump then does that, changes it from regular engine lubricant pressure to a higher pressure 700-ish for this to fire, I believe is where it's at, and sends it into the head. Into the head goes into a rail which feeds all the injectors. The injectors take that oil pressure and it goes into the injector in one chamber, and down below it is a piston, like a hydraulic ram, and that oil is going in there and pushing on that piston. When it pushes on that piston, there's fuel underneath it that is in a tapered cone shape, barrel. So the piston, when it pushes down there, because it's tapered, it's what's called an intensifier piston. So it increases that pressure up to around 23,000 maybe. And these numbers are off. I'm just shooting off the top of my head from what I can remember. It could be different, but anyways, you get the gist. And then once that pressure increases, that is enough to lift a needle on the injector and let it spray. So that oil is controlled electronically. So there is a plug in the valve cover gasket for the injectors. So the electric on top controls how long it opens and how much oil gets put in there. Now, the amount of oil, that pressure that's created, it has a sensor that monitors the rail to see what the pressure is, and it has a regulator that opens and closes it to increase and decrease. Okay, so it sounds more complicated than it really is. So this truck is having a problem starting in the mornings. It'll crank and crank and crank and crank. And it seems like once it builds high pressure oil, it starts. So the first thing I always do if you got any starting problem on a Huey system, well, I guess any truck, is check the oil. Make sure it's got oil in it, especially one that has an oil leak like this one. So I check the oil. It's down slightly, not enough to affect the high pressure oil system. So the next thing I want to do is get the scanner on it and bring it up to the screen where I can watch the injection control pressure. Now, I would like to have the desired right here and the actual, but you know, this is a Snap-on ProLink. It's not the ideal scanner if you're doing a lot of diagnostics on truck. Oh, look at that. Our exhaust back pressure keeps jumping. And it's not even running. This shouldn't be reading anything. Yeah, we're gonna have to look into this. Okay, so anyways, a ProLink is not the one to have. I mean, there's far better software out there and some better scanners. This is, it does what I need it to do, but if I was in a shop setting where I was working on a lot of different stuff all the time and it was a time crunch, this is not what I would buy. I'd buy a better unit than this, but it works. You know, it does what I need to do, and I'm able to fix the trucks I need to. So anyways, now we're going to crank it. I want to see what the actual injection control pressure is and what the desired is, because as soon as the engine, the ECM, sees it start to crank, it should fill in the desired. But before I do anything, I'm going to look into this exhaust back pressure. Look, it just went to 0. Yeah, something's not right there. Alright, I have the back pressure sensor disconnected. What am I looking for? ICP desired. We're at 0 right now. And injection control pressure, we want to see what that is. I believe it's 500 to start. Fuel rate. Injection control pressure desired 652.7, and we're at 6, a little bit better than that. I'm okay with that, but man, it just, the more you start it, the more it seems like it's running out of fuel. Like it's just not getting enough fuel. We're either running out of fuel. See, it shouldn't crank like that after just being started. It should just fire right off. And it builds injection control pressure quickly. And a couple times I've started it, it starts, but it's not running like it has full power. It's like it's running out of fuel. don't think it's maybe not running out of fuel, is maybe we're getting air in the fuel. It's time to start looking for leaks. So here's our power steering pump. And turn it around so you guys can see this. Get some light in here. And I couldn't figure out what's leaking. And then you smell it. It's deceiving. I think it's a power steering leak. It's diesel fuel. Yeah, diesel fuel. So, why it's so important to pay attention to your leaks. I come up here, and this is the drain valve for when you change your filter. Drop my towel. So if that will leak diesel fuel and he's having problems starting the next morning, it starts okay the rest of the day, that could be where we're at. So to test that, that has barbs on it, like you could put a hose if you were draining it, and I've already checked to make sure it's closed. I'm going to put a cap on here, a plug cap, and we're going to put this thing outside and let it sit till tomorrow morning. And if tomorrow morning it fires up correctly, we'll know that's our problem. So let me get a cap. Alright, so I got a cap on the bottom of it, and the actual water drain here off the bottom is wet as well. I'm not sure how I can seal that up with anything, unless it's not leaking from here, but from here and getting on here, because that part seems, I just wiped it and the center of it's dry. Alright, so we're going to try with this. So now we're going to kind of close things up, get it outside, let it sit overnight, and we'll go from there. Alright, so we got a used crankcase breather, so now I'm going to hurry up and change that out real quick. It's pretty cold out, so I'm going to try and get it changed out, get the dog box back on, and let's go for a ride. Alright, so here's the breather that I replaced. You can see the O-rings all swollen, and this is the tube with the broke off piece that was right there. So that's done. I drove it. It runs much better. Looks like the exhaust back pressure sensor took care of the check engine light, so it didn't come back on. It seems to be alright. So now I just need to start it up in the morning and see how it does. If it starts better, then we're going to go ahead and replace the fuel bowl, that drain valve, and it won't be until next week, so hopefully that takes care of that little problem, or at least part of the starting problem maybe. But we'll let her sit, and we'll find out in the morning, so I'll bring you back. Alright, so yesterday I replaced the exhaust back pressure sensor and cleared the codes, and I come out this morning and put the scanner on it again, and it started up much better. So I think, I don't know if I showed that, but the drain valve in the bottom of the fuel bowl was dripping, and I think it was letting the diesel fuel drain out of the fuel bowl, and then when you go to start it, it was filling full of air, and it was having a hard time starting. It is much better. I don't know that we have 100% of everything fixed yet on that starting problem, but it is by far much better. So we're going to try it and see. I got the valve on order. We'll have it next week sometime, and we'll probably throw that in real quick. It's not a very big repair. It's just unscrew some Torx head bolts, I believe they were, and slide it out, put another one in. It's got a new O-ring, and that's that. But no more oil leaks, no drips underneath it, no diesel fuel. Like I said, I that valve that's on there, I stopped it up and it slowed the leak down. It still drips ever so slightly, but I think we'll be okay till part comes in. Tires worked out well, goes down the road nice. It's probably gonna have to have kingpins sooner than later. You know, that bad tire definitely took its toll on the front end. The exhaust is all done, so for all intents and purposes, we're done with this one for right now. So we're gonna have him come get it, and let's see how it does for him, how the starting issue goes, if it's better or if we made a change at all, and go from there. If you guys like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments down below. We'll catch you on the next one. Well, as you can see, it's another day. We got freezing rain last night, and it's down in the teens today, and I thought before he comes to get this, I want to start it up one more time. So I turned the key on. The wait to start light didn't stay on very long, and that's a little concerning, but I brought up the injection control pressure and the desired. I want to see what that is while we're cranking. This will be the first crank of the morning. Let's see how close we are and, you know, what's actually going on. There's 500, so there should be enough to fire. Well, I'm going to take that as a win. As cold as it is out today, that's not too bad. So I believe that fuel leak was probably our problem, because that started much better. So we're gonna go ahead and ship this, then when that valve comes in, we'll go ahead and put that in. So thanks for watching.